Welcome back to What's New in the Lou with Alexis Zotos, presented by Caldy's Coffee and recorded right here at Bucket List Podcast Studios. This is your can't miss weekly podcast, helping you stay in the know about the new restaurants, the can't miss events, and of course, the people that make the St. Louis region the best place to live and visit. At the end of each episode, we give you a weekly calendar of events so you know exactly what's going on this week and you don't miss out on any of the fun. Now, we talk about a lot of new restaurants here, but we also talk to some longtime favorites, especially when they have something new up their sleeve. And that is exactly what's happening this week on the podcast. We are joined by Fred Burmer, the CEO of Lion's Choice, longtime favorite here in St. Louis. Fred,
Hi.
thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You know, Lion's Choice, 1967, it's been around. And I will admit, I'm one of those people that I thought Lion's Choice was everywhere. I just thought it was all over the country growing up here. Had no idea it started here in St. Louis. Do you hear that a lot?
Actually, I do. People that live in St. Louis just assume that that Lion's Choice is everywhere. And right now, we're just primarily in and around the St. Louis area, but we do expect to expand.
We love to hear that. What do you think makes the brand so special, have such a loyal following in St. Louis?
Well, part of it, I think, is it's St. Louis born. One of the things I've learned about St. Louisans is they're very loyal to the local brands and that type of thing. But the big thing is that the food that we make is just top notch.
Mm-hmm.
Always has been, hasn't changed in 67 years. We roast it every day, slice it right in front of you, and it's been that way for it'll be 58 years in October next month.
Almost birthday. Happy birthday time.
Yeah.
You're not from St. Louis. We were just chatting a little bit before we started this podcast that you came here to be CEO of Lion's Choice. What drew you to this brand and to our city?
Yeah, it's really easy. I was living in Atlanta, very happy, just doing just fine. And I was contacted by someone from Lion's Choice, said, "Hey, we're looking for a new CEO. The current CEO is retiring, and we'd like to talk to you about it." And once I found out what the brand was, did a little homework. The big thing that struck me right away was that loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
I remember going online and Googling things about Lion's Choice, and to listen to customers talking about that brand. They were just in love with the brand. One of the things that I've always admired about a brand like Harley Davidson, I've told this story a lot of times, but they brag, and rightfully so, that what other brand has loyalty, such loyalty from their customers that they actually tattoo their logo on their bodies. And I found out there's two people out there, at least, that I already know of that's has Lion's Choice tattooed on their.
I was going to say, I bet there are people out there that have that.
Yeah. When I heard that, I'm like, what a privilege it would be to be a part of that brand. So, the rest is history.
So before we dive into what's coming, because there's some exciting news that you guys are coming, I do want to step it back to that history. You're new with as a CEO, but I imagine you've done a little homework. Can you give us a little backstory, a little how Lion's Choice got started here in St. Louis?
Yeah, actually, one of the founders still lives here. He's actually a friend of mine, Marvin Gibbs. I think he's 93 now.
Wow.
And I still have lunch with him a couple times a year. He was a chemist at Monsanto. And he and I think it was his brother-in-law, thought, let's start a little side gig here. Didn't want to get into the burger business because everybody was in it. They got into the roast beef business. And the first one started in Baldwin. Still there. It's a national treasure. And it's fun to talk with him and hear some of the stories about how they first started. Second one, I believe, was Creve Coeur. And he's quite he was obviously a very smart guy. I respect anybody that's a chemist, but, a really savvy business person too. He got a lot of those properties and the locations that we have that were very, highly sought after. And, he just didn't mess around. He went in and said, "What do you want for that dirt?" They gave him a price, and he said sold. And, he was able to beat out some strong competitors just by doing that. And those sites are still in town.
Which is great to see when you have those kind of long time spots, exactly where they are. You can picture them in your head.
Yeah. Yeah. And where we are today, about 10 years ago, an investment group purchased it from Marvin and his partners. And we've been operating it ever since.
How many locations did you say we have?
There's a total of 24 right now.
Okay. And you hope to grow that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're working on that as we speak.
Love to hear that.
Yeah.
Would that be beyond the Missouri, Illinois, would that be around the Midwest? What's the hope there?
Yeah, I don't want to go too far from home right away.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because we're going to try a few new things in the new locations, and I want to keep them a little close to home so that we
Mm-hmm.
can keep a close eye on them. We've had a lot of inquiries about franchisees and stuff like that. We do have 2 franchisees now, but we're going to hold off a little bit till we get things buttoned up a little bit more before we really open it up for franchising across the country. But even then, I'd like to keep the first few close to home.
Love to hear that. Okay. Let's dive into what is coming. You guys have some new things coming on the menu. You were known for roast beef, but we
Mhm.
know in this market people crave choices, they crave options. Talk to us what you can about some new menu items that you guys are launching.
Yeah, first of all, 85% of our sales are roast beef related. Fries, of course, we've got award-winning fries. I'm sure
So
you've tried
good.
them, and custard. And so we're really, just really leaning in on the roast beef and coming up with different combinations. Our first attempt at that was in April of 24. We put a product out called the Remix,
Mm-hmm.
which essentially is, the products that you get. We just put it on different type of bread. It has, it's already kind of prepped for you. Right now we've got a lot of options. People come into to our restaurant. We put the roast beef on a bun, and then they pick their sauce and cheese and that kind of stuff. So we started thinking, well, why don't we put, I'm a lazy orderer.
You
I
want to
don't want to
just
come in and
say,
fix my own food. I want you to tell me what's good. And so we started that sandwich. It's on Texas toast instead of a bun. It has the large portion of roast beef, 2 slices of cheese. You pick what you want, and a garlic aioli. It's fantastic.
mm-hmm.
And so that was so successful that we thought, what, let's give some new options for those customers that are looking for some variety, and let's get some new customers in here, and draw them in. One of the challenges that we have is um, it's easy to compare us to that other roast beef company,
Mm-hmm.
and we're nothing like that. And but we've got to, I wanted a sandwich that when somebody bites into it, they will never ever compare us to anybody else. And that remix started that. And then we came up with a sandwich called the Triple Dare, which has, all 3 proteins that we have: turkey,
Mm-hmm.
ham, and roast beef. We came up with one, actually, our customers came up with one called the Cubano. It's very popular. And then we've got one coming out at the end of this month. It's called the Southwest Cheddar Melt. And it's an awesome sandwich. It's on a brioche bun. It also has the large portion of roast beef. It's got cheddar cheese, melted cheddar on it. And it also has some crispy onion and jalapeno on there.
Mm.
Fantastic sandwich.
Yum.
I can't wait to eat another one.
It is funny because yes, you are known for roast beef. I though love your turkey. Like
I hear that a lot.
it's really good.
Yeah.
It's just really good. And I don't know, also like as a parent, I think you guys do a really good job of catering to families. And I think when you introduce new menu items, you give that great option for the family who want to come in. Their kids know exactly what they want, but like maybe the parents, they want to try something a little
Yeah.
different. They want something
Yeah.
a little exciting. Jalapenos, that sounds so yummy. My question to you as a business owner in today's market, where we have a lot of fast casual spots, how do you continue to stand out?
I got asked this question the other day for an article, and we have this conversation all the time. People come in, people go to where they're going to eat for one or more of 3 reasons: convenience, including speed, and being accurate, that type of thing. Price. Sometimes they go for price, and the main reason people go is for the food.
Mhm.
We're not the cheapest place in town. We're not going to try to be. If someone is going somewhere just for price, probably not Lion's Choice today. Uh, they come in for the food, and the second thing is accuracy. And so things that we talk about amongst ourselves is, guys, we have got to make that food right.
Mm-hmm.
I really never hear a complaint about the price when things were good. It's
Mm-hmm.
usually, that wasn't that good, and for the money, it wasn't worth it. So we got to make sure that the food's right, and that's really what makes us stand out. And we talk about it every day. In fact, one of the things we just started a week ago, we call it "Slow Down and Get It Right."
Mm.
And it's like, guys, customer's not going to care if it takes an extra 30 seconds. The industry standard for our business is get you in and out in 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay,
And
interesting.
that, from
That's
the time
from like time
from the
of
time you hit the
ordering?
speaker
Okay.
to the time you're grabbing your food out of the window in the drive-through, is 3 minutes and 30 seconds, and most stores are there. But we've actually changed that standard to 4 minutes. Guys, take an extra 30 seconds, get it right, make sure it's accurate, and make the food right. If it doesn't look right, make it again. Customer is not going to care about an extra 30 seconds when it's right.
Caldy's Coffee has been proudly roasting in St. Louis since 1994. Guided by a commitment to quality, service, and community, Caldy's strives to make every cup a moment of discovery. And get this, thanks to the support of their St. Louis community and fans across the country, they were named USA Today's #1 coffee chain in 2024. Visit caldyscoffee.com to find your nearest cafe, shop coffee for home, or even book a free tour and cupping at their roastery. Follow the goat to your next great coffee experience. Enjoy the rest of the episode. And especially, I would much rather wait a little bit longer in line than get
Yeah,
home and then see I'm
yeah,
missing XYZ of my order, which unfortunately happens at other places all the
yeah.
time. As when you came in as CEO, were there changes that you wanted to do? Changes to make sure that customer service experience was top notch? And what has that looked like for you as a CEO?
Yeah, we've spent quite a bit of time updating our facilities, making sure that, because they're old, I mean, that Baldwin store's been there for 58 years. We've spent some money investing in the facilities and that type of thing. And again, sound like a broken record, but we've really focused in on the food quality,
Hmm.
consistency of the food, investing in some new equipment, that type of thing. I mean, even the ovens that we use are all our cooking methods are all proprietary, and just making sure that we're doing it right. Retraining folks to make sure that our training is there and everybody knows what they're doing. Unfortunately, we still make mistakes sometimes, and it breaks my heart when I hear about them. But the good news is they're few and far between.
We know that rising food costs impact so many in the restaurant industry. How do you guys deal with that? Especially as you're talking about, that price point for customers while keeping it really consistent, delicious, and those portions that people know and love from Lion's Choice.
Yeah. Um, Again, that's something that we face every single day. Some of the costs that you have to pass on, but you've also got to be smart and innovative. One of the things that we did shortly after I got here was, I noticed that in the restaurants when you ate, we packed it up the same way as when we went through the drive-through.
Mm.
We're packing it up and wrapping it in foil, and the fries were in a bag and that type of thing, and that adds a lot to the cost of things. So what we were able to do is get platters, round platters, and you put some logoed wax paper on it. Put the fries in there. The presentation is so much better. The sandwich isn't getting squished a little bit from the
Hmm.
wrapper, and it saved us about 1% in costs. And those are things that we do that that was a win-win for the customer, a win for us. And those are things that we can do to be smart about saving, and being more efficient.
Hmm.
And we're doing that every day with just about everything we look at. One thing we won't do is compromise on the food. And,
Yeah.
because we've been tempted, we get vendors that come talk to us and suggest that we try a lesser cut of meat, a lesser fry. And we just, we don't even entertain that.
What do you think makes those fries so good? I know, without giving away too many of your secrets, why are those fries so good?
Well, part of it's the cut.
Hmm.
I call it a dirty cut.
Okay.
You look at them, you'll still see a little skin on the
Hmm.
fries and that kind of thing. Um, and we're very careful about the way we treat our oil. The shelf life of our oil and stuff like that. We've got some pretty sophisticated equipment that tell us when it's time to change the oil out, because that's a big cost. And then the process we use to cook it, we actually blanch the fries briefly, uh, and let those set for up to 15 minutes. And then when we need them, we can put them in the fryer, and it only takes about a minute and 15 to get them cooked. The nice thing about that is our people aren't tempted to hold the fries too long,
Yeah.
which is what happens in a lot of brands. Because in a minute 15 we've got them. So by the time you pull up in the drive-through, we can drop the fries, and in a minute 15 those things are ready.
It is so interesting when you think about time. When we're talking about fast food, fast casual, time is what people are looking. They want that meal quickly. how much of your business and your job is like looking at those things from like a second to, is that a big part of it? It's just like always thinking about how do we keep this efficient while keeping our product the best we can have. How much of
Yeah.
that is your job?
Oh, it's a big time. In fact, earlier you mentioned, where we're looking to grow. We're in the process right now of designing a kitchen
Mm,
that's optimal. We've got some kitchens that slow us down just because of the layout. I know we have in Wentzville, for example, we have a converted Wendy's there.
mm.
Great store, does great customers, but the layout is terrible. And it slows us down a little bit.
Something
So
that people probably don't think about. Like as an
yeah.
everyday consumer of, of food, you're not thinking about how does that space in a restaurant impact how fast it comes out to
Oh
you.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and really in our business, the smaller is better.
Mm, okay.
Somebody that can reach from both one end to the next.
I
That's
think about
that's
that in my
better.
own kitchen.
Yeah.
Like how can I
Mhm.
reach my stove to my, fill up a pot in the sink and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. We spent, in fact, we spent a couple hours yesterday just going through some possible design layouts for the kitchen. It's critical.
What excites you about the future of Lion's Choice?
Growth. Yeah. Yeah. I've been here 2.5 years. I came here to grow it. And we're finally in a mode to where we're having those conversations. Um, and that's exciting. That excites the whole team. That energizes the whole team.
How do you work to build that name recognition outside of our core base here in St. Louis? As someone from St. Louis, grown up here, grew up on Lion's Choice, like I said, I just thought it was everywhere.
Yeah.
But if you get into a market that isn't as familiar, how do you do that? How do you manage that?
Yeah. We're still working on that. Our marketing director, Tina, that's her charge right now is, well, we're working on the where the next stores are going to go,
Hmm.
who's going to run them, what they're going to look like. We need to really polish up a new market entry.
Mm.
And that's where we use people like, Jasper Paul and all that's, let them worry about that.
Yeah, that's what they do, right? You worry about the delicious food and you let those experts worry about the marketing. But
Yeah.
I think that is interesting when we talk about that loyalty and building it. When you have a business like Lion's Choice, you do have that generational loyalty. You've got kids that are now adults that are now taking their kids to Lion's Choice. When you get to hear about that, when you get to hear those sort of like generational customer stories, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of nostalgia with the brand. I see a lot of people that, talk about they have memories of with their grandmother or their
Mhm.
parents, going to Lion's Choice and all. So it's very nostalgic. We even get a lot of, in the off when school's out, a lot of the students from colleges and stuff. We're very busy that time of year because they're all coming in to come back to their beloved Lion's Choice. But yeah, I mean, the customers are so loyal. They notice, and I'll tell you what, they notice any change you make.
Mm, mhm.
Somebody asked me the other day, have you ever thought about, shrinkflation and that kind of stuff? I said, even if I thought about it, I wouldn't get away with it. They would notice right away. Um, but that's good. But to some degree, it's a little bit of a hindrance because, like, for example, when we put a new product out,
Mhm.
they're reluctant to try it. In fact,
Mm.
they don't even, our loyal customers don't look at the menu.
They just know. They just
Yeah,
come
they
up,
come
they
in, they
order.
know what they're gonna get before they I kind of kid, I could put dancing bears on the menu and nobody would notice. At least the regulars wouldn't notice.
Right, and so as you're preparing to launch a new sandwich, what is that messaging? How do you say, "Hey, we've got something that's really good and you're gonna wanna taste this."
Yeah. We're very fortunate to have people like you, that are very pro Lion's Choice. So we're able to get some media coverage that
Mhm.
way, and we appreciate that. We're going to be doing billboards. They're looking for the locations now, but we'll be putting up 15 or 16 billboards
Mhm.
around to get it. And then we're doing I think I told you we're doing a kind of an introductory
Mhm.
uh,
Little
uh,
taste test.
tasting
Mhm.
on in early next week, I think,
Mhm.
and then we launch it on the 30th.
This week, guys. You guys can get your hands on it. And that's the thing. I do think when times like these where people are conscious about what they're spending, and they don't know if they want to try something new or stick with the tried and true favorite. But I think if it's coming from a brand they know and trust, they know what you've got going on, that they're willing to sort of take that leap.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I know I've got an idea that's a little controversial around the building, but
Yeah.
we're going to do it. But we'll guarantee if you try something new and you don't like it, bring it back. We'll give you your OG, whatever it is you usually get. So there's no risk. I'm calling it the CEO no risk guarantee.
I love it. I love it.
But we don't have to wait for a promotion for that. I mean, that's just the fact of it. You come in, you try that. I do that when I'm in the restaurants all the time. I'll ask a regular, hey, have you tried the remix? That's my favorite sandwich now, anyway. And they say no. Why not? Well, I know I like this, and I say, you know what? Try it next time. If you don't like it, we'll give you your whatever it is you normally get.
I love that. I mean, and I think that is a sign that it's always great to hear when the CEO is in there. You're in those restaurants, you're talking to those customers. That's not always the case for every brand.
Yeah. No, my background is operations, so I love it. And that's where it happens, when I started in this business, I was in college in Orlando, went to University of Central Florida, and I started part-time as a dishwasher in the back of a pizza. And the reason I like to tell people that story is, I worked every position, and as a result of that, I will always respect and appreciate how hard people are working in the restaurant and what the teams are doing. That's where it happens. So I'll never lose the appreciation for that. I'm too old to do it anymore, but I'll always appreciate what these guys doing in the restaurants every day.
What are some of those lessons you've learned in your years in this business? Has it always been fast casual for you, or as you've grown in this business?
Yeah, I've been involved with quite a few brands, mostly Yum brands, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, KFC. It's been that. It's been the background.
What's been the biggest change you've seen in your tenure in this business, from when you started to where things are at now as an industry?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, and it's really been significant post-COVID, but the staffing. The ability to staff the restaurants. It's nothing sexy about the business. It's very rewarding if you like it and you want to move up. But it's everybody sees that. Has that kind of an issue with the staffing and the turnover, that type of thing. That's probably the biggest change over the years.
What's the thing that keeps you going, that brings you joy in this business? That makes you excited to get up every day?
Yeah, being part of a team, and putting a plan together. When we got here, when I got here, just assessing what we had to work with and putting together a plan, working with our marketing people and our other partners, our ad agency and that type of thing. And then when you put it together and it works, I hate bureaucracy, which is one of the other things I like here is, we make decisions. I call it fail fast. Let's make a decision, try something. If it doesn't work, we stop and we try something else. And that's what fun is when it works and when it doesn't.
I love it. Thank you so much, Fred. I really appreciate it. All right, you heard it here. The Southwest Melt, their brand new sandwich at Lion's Choice, drops this week, so you can give it a try. And, Fred says he loves the remix the best. I personally, my favorite is the turkey. I know, it's crazy, but it's delicious. Anyway, let's dive right into this week's calendar of events so you know exactly what's going on across St. Louis this week. The Art Hill film series is back. Their first film will be this Friday, October 3rd. This is a busy weekend. We've got Best Missouri Market all weekend at the Missouri Botanical Gardens, Friday through Sunday. Zootoberfest is at the zoo. It's a family-friendly Oktoberfest that's happening Saturday and Sunday, October 4th and 5th. The Rock Hill Fall Festival is Saturday, October 4th. And Grove Fest, which is not to be missed, is Saturday, October 4th. Thanks as always for listening, and don't forget to subscribe so you know exactly when our latest episodes drop.